Our host for today's program is Louisiana Poet Laureate Gina Ferrara. Called an extravagantly talented poet by Annie Finch, Gina has 5 poetry collections, and her 6th, The Rooted and Recurrent, is scheduled for publication later this year by UL Press. Her work has appeared in numerous journals, including Callaloo, Poetry Ireland Review, Tar River Poetry, and the Southern Review, and was nominated for a Best of the Net and Pushcart Prize in 2004. In 2024. In 2025, she was appointed Poet Laureate of Louisiana. Since 2007, she has curated a monthly reading series in New Orleans called the Poetry Buffet. She teaches at Delgado Community College and lives near Bayou St. John with her husband and their beloved bulldog, Sugar. Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Poet Laureate Gina Ferrara.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I want to apologize for my voice. I don't normally sound like this. I feel like I could have a part in The Exorcist right now, and everybody knows what part that would be. So just bear with me. Thank you so much to the State Library, the Festival of the Books for really kind of continuing this program, which of course was started by Darryl Bork, and I'm really so honored to continue this tradition that he started. The other thing is, if everybody could silence their cell phones, that would be great. I'll just say a few words about kind of the selection process. It was very hard just to focus on these poets because this state has such a tremendous wealth of talent when it comes to poetry. But kind of in reviewing everybody's work, these poets, their work really kind of stood out to me. So I hope you enjoy their poems and what they have to offer. I'm realizing that I left my book of poems on the table. So I might have to, if we have time, I might share a few of my own. But for now, we're going to start off in alphabetical order by last name. Not the most imaginative way to do things, but probably the most efficient. Jesse DeLong is the author of The Amateur Scientist Notebook, which came out in 2021, and Vinegar in Our Hearts, which just came out in 2026 this year. Other work has appeared in Colorado Review, Mid-American Review, American Letters and Commentary, Indiana Review, Painted Bride Quarterly, and Typo, as well as the anthologies Best New Poets 2011 and Feast Poetry and Recipes for a Full Seating at Dinner 2014. His chapbooks, Tearings and Other Poems, and Earthwards were released by Curly Head Press. He works as Assistant Director of Creative Writing at Louisiana State University. Please welcome Jesse DeLong.
Thanks to Gina and the State Library for hosting this, and also, of course, thanks to my fellow poets and everybody that's here. I'm going to read just from The Vinegar in Our Hearts. The poems that make up this book are triolets. So triolets are a really short form. They're only 8 lines long, and the first line is repeated twice more, and the second line is repeated again. So of the 8 lines, 5 of those lines are a given. And they tell the relationship of the speaker to a woman named Bird, who is his lover. Gong goes the bell jar, goes the gong. What's the use of escaping from ourselves? All anyone needs is to feel like he is hungry. I sit at the kitchen table. Sun algaes the room. Bird tells me what to use when escaping from ourselves. In the scarred tissue of my sternum, I feel it again, bells ringing in a town no one resides in. run and see what it is you feed on. Escaping from ourselves is all anyone needs, to feel like she too is hungry. So since these poems are so short, sometimes I would make up a lot of that space with really long titles. And sometimes the titles would be longer than the poems themselves, like this one that I'm about to read. Sitting on a hill overlooking Tuscaloosa, the view we hoped for, what exactly, turns out to be streetlights in a dirty string over the valley, as if someone, too lazy, like me, to take down the Christmas lights, stumbled outside, post-storm, a June morning, and saw the lights strewn on the grass, still lit, though most of the bulbs busted, and didn't bother because of how their light is subject to the sun's light, picking them up. Smashed bits of glass, the trials of an afternoon, now only night, heat, the press of knucklebone. The light of the sky, as if to make room, overwhelmed with its bright bits of glass. An event that, after it happens, is stripped away. Memory is the shadow of someone in an alley as we walk by. After you, trembling, the smashed bits of your life. Only now, the night pressed, so often, a knucklebone. It hasn't been dry for days. The grass, thick, wavers like a nervous tick. The tree line, a horizon bird's buoy. When a hawk capsizes, Bird and I spread an old quilt and picnic there. Sky, a glass of water poured. Bits of mold rot broken off. The world eddied out in seepage, lungs socked, pupils immersed in salt. Bird, too, lies down, drought anxious, in the grass. A tide line of dandelions at her toes. Small hawk, sunk. Broken off wind tattering into grass. What's expected then of my posturing? Could I, staggering, womb-driven to earth, rowboat these drowsy hours where bits of mold are scrapped out for water rot, rain thirst broken off since birth? I was living in Tuscaloosa when that huge tornado came through and sort of ripped up the towns. And one of the things it did was the tornado was so powerful that it picks up this bright red dumpster and it set it in the middle of the lake near where I was living. And that red dumpster was just sticking out of the lake for like a year after. The way grass snaps over in a crop circle, the trees look around the tornado-hit lake. Someone's basement, like the split belly of a fish, is exposed, showing its canned beans, acorn squash, lima beans. Several of us are left with only the hallways of our houses, huddled under a pillow in a bathtub. A year later, there is still a dumpster, red as a siren, in the lake. Unacceptable what a person is asked to endure in a life. Maybe it's not to be, not really. Even the smallest task at the end becomes difficult to ask of a person who is, after all, an unacceptable amount of flesh. Somewhere in the bowels, a self. Or possibly not even that. Maybe, like a lichen, only an illusion of wholeness. What's endured a person is. A life not to be, but rather to not be nothing. The noonlight of a cellar door opens on the grit and mold growth of stone, the way I feel when I wake up. Head, a bottle of Goldschlager. Heart, a half-rotted potato. So now, half drowning and bringing a man of God with me, I was incapable of saving myself or anyone. It is luminous, the limits of a life. Half of what I've inherited, a man. The other, some part of a person that I can't stand, something rotted in the back of a cellar shelf. So bring it out, boil it, half drown it in salt. There's some good. Save, please, the half-dead half. Thanks again, everybody. This is the last poem I'm going to read. This is an abad. So an abad is that the lovers have spent the night together But as the sun is rising and they're getting ready to depart from each other, they sort of give us this dawn song. I offer my arm to her, wondering if the scent, salty like mushrooms, is from her perfume or my sweat. She sighs. Sunlight, rising in, flaps through the curtains and preens there. As she sweeps the dust from its daisy pattern, she hums the word abad until she's gone. Of the sunlight, sifting to pale, fine dust, a rooster's song, a lawnmower in the heart. There seems no way for you and I, though we must shift in the pale, fine dust of the sunlight. Quiet is the curtain she can't stand. How can I trust, I say, you'll be back? This is, bird says, such a ragged, fine rust, you and I. Sunlight sifting through. Pale, bird's chord in the heart. A lawnmower, a sky. Thanks, everyone.
All right, our next poet, Malaika Favorite, is a visual artist and writer. Her publications include Dreaming at the Manor, published in 2014, Illuminated Manuscript, published in 1991, the 2015 Broadside Lotus Press, Naomi Long Madgett Poetry Award-winning Ascension, her novel After Color, which won the Cosmographia Books Prize for Spiritual Fiction, and her novella, The Author Project, which came out in 2024. She's also, as I said, an amazing visual artist. Please welcome Malaika Favorite.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Robert, and everyone for being here and for hosting us today. I'm going to read 3 poems for you. The first one is from Diving into Nature, which is an environmental collection published by Portals Press. This is available on Amazon if anyone wants a copy. And one of my poems in here is called Can You Hear the Ants Screaming? The battle rage where chickens dream, the hens want the right to climb. Who can hear the ants screaming? Lord Rooster on his cell phone tweeting, I am the master of time. Battles rage where chickens dream, the assembly of fowls clucking. Minor roosters draw the line. Can you hear the ants screaming? The press announced the sky is falling. Lord Rooster tweets, fake news, false light. The battle rage where chickens dream. The wall goes up, the wall comes down. Illegal aliens cross underground, testing the line. Can you hear the ants screaming? Doves, chicken, cows pay a dime to hear Lord Rooster recite his morning tweet. The battle rage where chickens dream. Can you hear the ants screaming? Okay, and this next one is from my Ascension, also available online. I don't have any more copies to sell. Okay, the first one is an environmental piece I wrote about the Mississippi River, which was, I considered my first river. The gray road snaked around the green levee. On the other side, in a muddy basin, lay the Mississippi, curling up and churning. Curl up, river snake, lapping at the silt, slipping slowly around your rolling rim. On both sides of me, the green things waved. I tried to drive into myself, the me that once ran up and down the levee laughing, laughing at the slanted sides of beefy land under me, tickling my private places. I still hear me laughing with the sun while I ran up and down, rolling round and down, all your curves curving into me. I was 10, and you were my only river. I stood on the level places of the levee and called out your name. Mississippi, Mississippi! Mississippi, can you hear me? If I send my papa, will you hear me? You lay flat, wrapping in the slime, coughing up the tin cans and driftwood. I pulled off my shoes and kicked you till you cried, Mississippi, sippy tea, full of pee. We laughed real loud, holding hands, 10 of us, sisters, brothers, and cousins. We ran up and down behind your back, screaming out your name. Mississippi, Mississippi, Mississippi. You laughed, we laughed. The sun laughed. We grew up laughing, slipping in and out of muddy water, skipping in and out of light. We grew up brown, yellow, tan, black, and colored all over. Laughing, crying, hurting, falling, getting up and sitting down, standing on the front porch, eating in the kitchen, leaning on the outhouse door, cursing in the dark, crying on the bedroom floor. Skipping, jumping ropes over our years, 10 and 11, 12 and 13. Now I'm 14, bringing the goat in. We got tall, wide, skinny, flat, pointed. We danced and danced your tune. Mississippi, Mississippi, got the Mississippi blues. We changed our names, curls, our hair, shaved our legs. We stood tall in wide skirts floating up over you, landing in places with proud names. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Detroit. You became a memory, stabbing at us in little phrases. I came home, drove down River Road to see you swimming in your basin, the Sunshine Bridge walking over your back. I found chemical carnivals playing offbeat tunes, squatting on your thighs, dumping tobacco juice and raw vomit into your once clear eyes. You lay old and weeping, nobody running up your side. I called your name, a riverboat answered, Lou blew his horn, a pelican dove in. I kicked up my shoes and ran to you crying, Mississippi, Mississippi! Thank you. Okay, this last one, this is a homage to Louisiana history. This was based on a note from the Chicago Record Herald, June 20th, 1901, and this is what the article said. In Shreveport, Louisiana, June 19, 1901. 2 of the Negroes implicated in the murder of John Gray Foster were lynched by a mob at Benton tonight. One was Frank, commonly known as Prophet Smith, who at the head of the Christ Church of God movement in that section was blamed as being responsible for the sentiments against the whites, which led to the death of Foster. He died praying. Chicago Record Herald, June 20th, 1901. And I wrote a poem about his lynching, and then I wrote his final prayer, which I will read for you. This is the final prayer of Prophet Smith. Oh Lord, I am falling away from me, falling away from me, falling away. My final prayer is of flesh melting, hissing, fire eating, burnt bones breaking, laughing mouths laughing, dancing legs dancing around me to sacrifice, me the lamb, me the dead hog. Oh Lord, I am falling away from me. Father, forgive. They know not, no not. I am falling away from me. From the sound of me, eyes pop out, flesh curl and burn, cooking flesh dropping from bone, the sound of me hissing, laughing, and me hissing, bones popping, falling away from me, the stink of human meat cooking, falling away from me, rolling away, all the pain is burning, burning with what was me, a final hymn sung in the dripping tune of fire. They are warming themselves with me. I am fire. I am fire. Fire is me. My bones are sticks. My ligaments oil-soaked rags. I am flame. They are warm and cozy, laughing and spitting, holding up my manhood. Father, forgive, forgive. Thank you.
Malaika, thank you so much. Our next poet, Christine Kwon, is the author of this incredible collection called A Ribbon, the Most Perfect Blue. It came out in 2023, and it won the Cowles Book Prize. Her work has appeared on NPR, The Rumpus, Coppernickel, and the Harvard Advocate, among other places. She lives in New Orleans with her family. Please welcome Christine Kwon.
Hello. Is this on? No. Okay, Gina, thank you so much for having me. I do have a book. I'm not going to read from it. I'm going to read very new poems. I just had my second baby 3 months ago, and I've written these during my unpaid maternity leave. White button down. Catullus in white button down, no pants, and teal and purple argyle socks. Why do you look down at the street with such a melancholy gaze? Why do you think of others, not in the room? Flavia might have had beautiful calves, and Julia Julius that nose, and her sister also Julia Julius that same nose, when that first nose turned you down. But I am here now, and I have no sisters to appeal to when I'm gone. The light is turning your left cheek iris, my heart violet. Don't sulk. I promise my words have ancient charm. All my other teachers say so. Or was it really my voice that led you here, girlish, laughing, and suicidal? What are we doing in this room, if not making love? Hold me to your name. I dislike the smell of roses, like carnations even less, framed by bright green pom-poms and sprays of tiny white flowers, as if you were not a man but a young lady. The flowers brought out your dark features, your dark hair. It's not the smell I like, nor the tender flesh. I like the sound of flowers, the dahlias, anemones, the coral bells and yarrow, the irises and violets, the names, and you arranging them. You are your name to me. I chant your name all day long. If you don't hear it, in my head, it's only with you that I feel the peace of lying in a grave. It's only with you, lying down is a cave. Only you can hold me to your name. Tatiana. This is about Tatiana Schlossberg, member of the JFK family, and I went to college with her, and she died really recently. I want to write about worms and striped umbrellas and sawdust, not the woman dying of cancer, the daughter she never got to hold, the son who will forget her arms. I want to write about my son feeding the ducks and ibises in the park, how he wants to feed them endlessly until they die, or we standing at river's edge turn statuesque, arms outstretched. I sometimes think of the man in the desert who rolled his oxygen tank to the jacuzzi. I don't think of the pigtailed girl skipping her old-timey blue dress, suddenly appearing in the hospital window at 3 a.m. Who exists anymore doesn't matter. Beauty keeps coming. Okay. Oh, Lord. Gina, do you want me to go weird or New Orleans? One last poem.
Aren't we the same?
I'm gonna go New Orleans. I'm gonna keep the vibe going. And there's 2 curses that I'm changing to a non-cursing word. Okay. Buck moths. Those are the furry moths you see flying around. They swarm. They're very furry and large and black. The moths that were everywhere had no eyes or mouths, our friend told us, on our porch as they flew into the yellow siding, onto our bare skin, because they didn't need to see or eat before they died, not even having waited 2 years to be born. I liked the way they flew, blind, crazed, with even less agency than flowers falling straight to earth. The moths were so furry and so round, like pets. I flinched when your mother killed them, slamming her shoe against the wall, crushing them in her hand to punish them for when they, as caterpillars, thick and black like squirming eyebrows, had the capacity to sting. I didn't like this retroactive punishment, especially learning that they wormed into the soil and waited there to be born. What else rises from the earth like that, fully winged, from dead to flying, and flying so sadly in the hopes of bumping into something, this was the curse word, to mate with? The ones we saw with their round red abdomens and white striped wings, frantic and stupid, were all male. Later in the season, in the hospital room on the 6th floor, I steadied myself to give birth the second time, studying the window scene. A parking lot, an abandoned field, the back of a chain pharmacy, the sun cold and pale like a stranger that refused to look at me. As I stood there, a moth flung up from below, and I started bashing itself against my window, and then stopped, circling the air helplessly like a leaf suddenly given agency. What responsibility it must have felt, being alive, emerging from the dirt to feel so much sky, 6 floors up, so far from anyone to mate with, closer to the clouds than anyone to mate with. Maybe it didn't care, no longer felt the allure of the earth, having pupated so long beneath an oak tree in a city sidewalk for a dog to sniff and piss on again and again. Maybe this one moth wanted another world. I turned back to my room, flinging myself again and again at something that would not let me through. I could not imagine past or future. For once, I had no memories. I could not picture the face of the child they would pull from me. It was still dark. She was not yet quite herself, suspended in a pink cathedral of sorts. She was closer to the worn leather booth in the dark bar where you and I had just released coats brushed with snow. The cigarette moon cut as if by falling hair, the music passing through me instead of air. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. Poetic X is an award-winning American poet and contemporary artist who has recorded 4 spoken word poetry albums. He's the author of Poetic X 10, volumes 1 and 2. Both of those came out in 2022, self-published through his imprint, Speak a Million Publishing. He's also the founder of Speak Poetry Fest, Jukebox 7 Records, and Poetry House for the Arts, and the creator of the poetry-based curriculum Flight School Fly Poetry. In 2021, Poetic X was appointed Poet Laureate of Cato Parish, Louisiana, serving through 2025. In 2025, he received an Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellowship, which I know he's putting to good use. Please welcome Poetic X.
All right, greetings, everybody. I want to thank Gina for inviting me. I was coming here from Shreveport and getting here as fast as I could. I'm glad I got on time and it hadn't started yet. Do a few poems. First is a poem I wrote called Keep Hope Alive. There's much about this life I have yet to learn, but I'm still ambitious. I'm still a product of my environment. I'm still learning how to deal with it. Who to love, who to trust, how to overcome my challenges, how to challenge myself to thrust. I'm not sure about the lonely goodbyes that lies on the roads ahead. Don't know how many miles before I exile. What I do know, I ain't dead. My heart's still pumping, my lungs still function. As long as there's breath in the body, I can be excited about something. Miracles grow in my habitat. Mirrors reflect my mind's reflection. I hope they find where my words at. Maybe they too will start to dream. Maybe the rising and falling of the sun won't set on them so young. Maybe, just maybe, their shadows can spread their wings. Some little kid wants to be an astronaut, but if hope never reaches his lungs, it doesn't matter if he's astro or not. Hopefully he can float through the spaces. I'm hoping his spacecraft doesn't break in half on hope's behalf. I hope he lands on the bases. Hopefully crime doesn't rob him of his time. If we hurry, we don't have to worry. When hope arrives, he'll start flying. Plus 1,000 little more astronauts like his kind, relying solely on a wing and a prayer. Very little self-esteem, very little H2O by the time Miss Apollo turns 13. Emotional stains on him. Give him a proper title, not another dry cycle. I hope it rains on him. and hope enters its proper place beneath the soil where he's called in God's amazing grace, shaping those that bear witness, a labor of love, a free will spirit, an ordained apprentice. This ain't about quitting. It's about being relentless, staring hope right in the eye. Hopefully my bystanders got quick handles. I'm hoping we don't watch hope drive by. Pedal to the metal. I got severe scores to settle. My granny passed away. I hope we find a cure for cancer one day. Too many heroes unsung. A mass choir will sing you out your Sunday attire, but they caught cancer in the lungs. Found a lump in their breast. Memorized their notes, but Alzheimer's laid them to rest. Hopefully we can wake them up, speaking to their eyes before God decides to take them up. Hope is what we're asking for. Hopefully hope is something we both share the same passion for. I hate to see hope deferred, turned down, rejected, flat out intercepted, caught between a rock and a hard place. Hope ain't always easy to chase. It can disappear quick, caught between a rock and a hard place, cemented between two bricks. That's right, get in if you like. Click of the ticket, you don't want to pay the price. I'm hoping you follow precautionary paths when you drive. I'm hoping the traffic ain't jammed. I'm hoping we got enough RAM to make it to the other side. Well, hope can earn this new habitat. Safe, sound, secure. Mirrors reflect my mind's reflections for sure. Picture paragraphs reloaded. I'm hoping the H2O flows where it's supposed to go. I'm hoping we don't leave the seeds hopelessly devoted, relying solely on the wing and a prayer. When hope arrives, they'll survive. They won't get robbed of fresh air. This ain't about quitting. It's about hope, about drive. Our number one responsibility to give hope agility and keep hope alive. Okay. Now this piece is a piece I wrote. It's called When We Shake Hands, and it was for reconciliation. I know that we have evolved in time, but you still have traits of racism that does exist. And I think that it's a great divide between the South and the North, but you know, we're working it out. So this piece is called When We Shake Hands. Prepare a table for my fellow brothers and sisters to sit. An entire new homestead where natives and settlers can break bread. How often do they forget? The principles in life which is built upon, the Freemasonry of man's character, the good deeds, decrees he can't break away from. Freedom of prison bars. How can we reconcile without destroying the spices and herbs we preserved in our mason jars? Been some time since we sat at the table, segregated by the heritage, the hysteria, the labels, separated by a will to survive, while the death toll keeps counting lives. Tell those tribes that seek to socialize, the dinner table is prepared. Be ready to improvise, different taste buds, dishes that cater to all sides. Because human rights matter. Let there be food for the soul, because whole is mixing out of the mixing bowl, and souls no longer goes into the batter. Unfortunately, they get sold to the highest bidder. Ingredients intended to be intricately blended don't blend, they become bitter. Defiling the recipe, circumstances that make serving justice taste tangy and tainted to me. So let's become acquainted while basing our food prep on a new arrangement, because someone, somewhere, may be tasting their last supper. Substituting our hunger with leftovers thrown in the dumpster doesn't make democracy healthy. In return, we suffer. Our bodies grow into the motto, eat or get ate. Animals, when it comes to sharing food, keep calm, everybody get a plate. Reconciliation is on the menu. The main issue is to conceal hate. Mixed emotions about how to serve each other. Makes it hard for the black man and white man to call each other brother. Bad table manners. But that ain't what we cooking in Louisiana. Our manner is cooked to set the standards. Eat and be merry. Taste of the good life while keeping our solutions culinary. Our dinner guests become impressed by our presentation. World peace can be discussed without distrust and food deprivation. An invitation that offers us a full course. Choices that correspond and make hungry mouths come for seconds, thirds, and fourths. We help by giving an extra helping. Food brings families together. Reunions keep the memories from melting. In the past, we forgot to cast season in the skillet. Water reached the boiling point. Do we let it burn or do we refill it? With racial equality and camaraderie to produce a more potent stock. Our palates are important. We lost empathy during courting. Gotta put more love in the pot. That's how we stimulate the economy. Dining rooms will be filled with the freshest fruits from the field constantly. Citizens would be seated with diplomats. Sovereignty would appeal solemnly to the pioneer like aphrodisiacs. If peace and love is the subject, then both shall be accredited by giving cooking lessons to the public, placing classes back in the natural facets of their proper persona, protecting the nation's interests and heightening their senses to the smell of the aroma. Settling our hunger pains, we overcame and justice took seat. No one should be barred from their bon voyage because they can't afford food to eat. We've craved the flavory of freedom, finally, bon appetit. Our chef for this occasion has served us nothing short of amazing, signature, renown. Will we remember our table settings when it's time to wind down? Natives and settlers, we have to bring our kin to amends, extend the measurement of our lifetime by making dinner reservations again. Gourmet, dolce, and good looking, that's how we keep them kitchens cooking. Permanent preserves on domestic and foreign lands. Self-preservation helps us to hold on to our promises when we shake hands. Now I got one more. This piece is not as long as those. Those are spoken word pieces, but the next piece I read is from my book, as Gina said, is self-published, and the X or the 10 is distinctive. Every poem in the book has in some way an impression of 10, if it's 10 lines, if it's just to do it yourself poem where you fill in the lines, but you'll find that the 10 has a distinct impression in each piece. All right, this one is called Yes, He Will. He'll grow up wanting to be the best he can be. Classrooms keep him concentrated on a college degree. The real him can't be measured by standardized testing, but his attitude towards achievement will keep him pressing. He'll learn some tests don't match what he was taught in school. He'll judge himself based on the classroom's response and be overruled. He'll think he bubbled in the wrong circles. He'll have to study twice as hard to cross the hurdles. His learning will have become instituted in the foreign field. He'll learn no test can grade his greatness. Yes, he will. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, moving along, Karisma Price is the author of I'm Always So Serious, which was published in 2023 and was a New York Times Editor's Choice pick. Her work has appeared in publications including Poetry, Indiana Review, Academy of American Poets Poem a Day series, and elsewhere. She is a 2025 Whiting Award winner, a Cave Canem Fellow, a 2023 winner of the Stanley Kunitz Memorial Prize from the American Poetry Review, and was awarded the 2020 J. Howard and Barbara M.J. Wood Prize from the Poetry Foundation. She holds an MFA from NYU, and she's an assistant professor of English at Tulane University. Please welcome Karisma Price.
Hi, how y'all doing? Good, I'm so glad I got a verbal. I was like, how we doing? Okay, I think I timed it right. I'm gonna read 4 poems, so 2 of them are gonna come from my book, I'm Always So Serious. I promise you I'm not. I can be a funny person. I'm an adult with braces. I'm quite childish. So, I say these because my poems are a little, yeah. So this poem is about evacuating during Katrina. I was around 10 when it happened. So it's called, What's It Like Escape Something Trying to Kill You? A minister blames this on the slaughter of unborn children. We enter a tunnel and my breath holds itself for comfort. My father suggests we find a copy of the Green Book and pray over it. A car full of black people driving past Confederate statues. A strawberry zooms past my left ear. The wind smashes it against the bark of cedar. A fish drowns itself in the Mississippi. The one-eyed tabby is not allowed in the hotel. She too will float, but in a different city. 3 Ritz crackers on a paper plate. There was a bush separating the hotel from a supermarket.
The president tries to separate himself from responsibility, but we see him too. Put those back. You're not wearing hand-me-down underwear. I eat lifted grapes. You call it stealing. Adults call it building credit. Don't you know I don't know where we are? What to do in a country that never wanted me here? Did you hear the one about God? I am blamed for laughing the hotel room in an awkward silence. My aunt sleeps, deaf as hands in the dark. 2 hurricanes in the same week. Such sororal horror. So this one is called All Day We've Been Speaking in the Dark. So when I was still, I'm from here, but I went to college in New York, and me and my friends decided to rent an Airbnb and kind of like give ourselves our own little writing residency, because writing residencies cost too much money. So we rented an Airbnb and just hung out all weekend and wrote poems. And one of my friends gave us a, I can't think of the word, like kind of like a challenge where it was like, write a poem, but it has to be about the images in it has to be what we've seen today. So we took a train to upstate New York. So we saw like horses and fields, and there were like these children that, like, you know, when preschoolers are out on a little walking field trip and they hold like a little rope so they all stay in place. So the images in the poem are all from what I saw that day. All day we've been speaking in the dark, and all day the bay horses graze. We are happy. We snore. We stay in a dish with mixed berry marmalade. What if I stopped here? What if we all did? We are all happy and snore like overworked fathers and damaged mothers. Everything is a thick kilt pushed over the eyes. I might be wrong when I think all anyone anticipates is living. But are you all right? I crave quality fruit, ache for over-buttered popcorn, porcupines without the stick. We are all so formal in our wantings. We whisper walk down wooden hallways. We grow so hard we are dying. We are all happy and snore into each chamber of ourselves. The bay horses hide our dreams in the barn. We do not grab them from their maws. Our mothers are damaged and our fathers brew. Inheritance, a kettle cried. The water burns honeybush. Oh God, how the spoons chatter. The way you shake in your sleep when you think the train has hit you. The police will not break the door. The windows are open. We'll sing arrows into them. We are the commonwealth of hooded children in loud raincoats stealing a porch hammock. We trouble the Gregory Pecks down the lane and bust open the chest of neighbor chiffon-robes looking for Tom Robinson. It is too late for us to own the mouths of our own darkness. We can't be free. We live here. So I'm going to switch to my phone. Okay, good. The PDF didn't disappear. So I'm working on another manuscript, and it's very, poems are hard. Life is hard. But I'm going to read this one out loud because I don't think I've ever read it out loud. Has anyone seen, it's an old movie from 1947. It's called New Orleans. It's with, man in the back. Yes. Louis Armstrong and Billie Holiday are in the movie. And they're, mostly in the movie for, their singing. And I just thought it was really messed up that you have Billie Holiday in a movie and she plays a maid. So this is called New Orleans 1947, or the one where Billie Holiday sings, "Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans?" while she's still in New Orleans. The genre is romance and musical and jazz player and secret, and Louis Armstrong weaponizes his smile in his own city, and blackness and whiteness and liquor and bar stools and evil mothers and concerned mothers and Run Away With Me and I'm Not an Honest Man and Billie Holiday. You had Billie Holiday in your presence, and she was the maid, and the piano sits in the bedroom of a white woman in love with a gambler in Storyville, and she lives in a mansion, and she's pure because she sings opera and is from Boston. The black people smile and the dreams they have, and we're not allowed to know, and all those black people smile knowing they should have been the stars, and the mother is mad the black couple taught her jazz, and Dorothy and Arturo and Woody Herman is on the movie poster, and did you know Louis cut his lips to give us more? And I too rupture so hard I might get a syndrome named after me. Sometimes the most human thing is to keep living after you know what you know, and you smile, knowing good and damn well you should be the star, and you sing about missing something you already have so no one tries to take it away. And I'm right here, and we didn't get to see Billie sing in her white dress, and Louis loses her for a moment before Chicago, and we know black people made jazz. Arturo de Cordova already told his love interest that West Africa exists, and we are in New Orleans and away from it, and Moss is just a placeholder for what can hang on pine, and there's a heart inside each of us, and some are more noisy than the others, but we tune our ears to the band and trumpet and clarinet and bass and piano and every finger whose knuckle moves faster than the Mississippi. I'm going to, I did not time this, so I'm going to assume I have one more poem left, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm looking for it. Do not rearrange a manuscript before you need to look at it. Okay, I found it. So last year, a couple poets and I were commissioned to write a poem from the Historic New Orleans collection. They had an exhibit called Louisiana, the Captive State. And when you started the exhibit, it started with the history of slavery in Louisiana, and it ended in Angola prison. And we were each supposed to write a poem inspired by the exhibit. I learned a lot about the coffin maker of Angola. One of them, his name was Richard Leggett. He worked in the carpentry division, where you can work on, construction-based ideas. And back before, I believe it was the 80s, if you died in Angola, you were buried in a cardboard coffin. And the warden wanted people to leave the prison with more dignity. So they had the carpentry program, and the head coffin maker would make you a coffin out of a pine box. And he made these coffins that were very beautifully constructed, basic pine. There are certain rules on who gets a coffin, so inmates can get a coffin, but also if you're a part of a religious organization that helps the prison, for example, the preacher Billy Graham was buried in a pine box built by this man. So soon after he built the pine box for Billy Graham, the coffin maker, Richard Leggett, learned that he had terminal cancer, and he built his own coffin. So, yeah, that really messed me up. So I wrote a poem called Final Exhortations After the Death of the Coffin Maker. And one final thing, so Angola has a voluntary hospice program where the inmates act as, people who sit and comfort their fellow incarcerated men, and they will sit there. There's a photo of Richard Leggett in his bed dying from cancer, and his apprentices are rubbing his feet. So this is called Final Exhortations After the Death of the Coffin Maker. There are two, I can't think of the word. There are two epigraphs. One is, all praise be to Allah in every situation. And it was the last words of Marcellus Williams. He was a black man executed September 24, 2004 by the state of Missouri, even though there was evidence to say he was innocent. And rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Philippians chapter 4, verse 4. You can't see the poem, but it looks like Bible verses. So chapter 1. Stay in line, but keep the line moving. Bring the rulers, the measuring tapes. Your calluses should be hardened before you arrive. Your smile was a weapon you could never use before. It's your choice to use it now. Keep the cord plugged. Keep the area clean from sawdust that falls like pollen in the spring. Remember the trees to produce both sickness and death. Do you know your neighbor's measurements? Which tie goes best with which suit? Which eyelid might need more glue to be shut tightly? When you are done, hand your neighbor the screwdriver, the sander, and be sure to polish the lid. 2. Who knows the intimacy of a splinter better than the coffin maker? The throat-sick song of the saw splitting wood in two. Coffins and pollen both come from trees. Louisiana, the skilled producer of both. I will not get over the death of the coffin maker of Angola. He was dead set on carving out forgiveness in a box more durable than cardboard. 3. In the wood shop, the men are free from their blocks, bars, boxes of steel, and asbestoses. The coffin maker died of cancer in Angola prison, masses eating his insides. He lives in the ground with every man he made a home for on the plantation Louisiana funds. I saw him yesterday. He lives in the black and white of photography, his apprentices rubbing his feet. Are we the disciples of anything that won't jail the next maker? 4. The same thing that cancers you will end me. Money, which cancers the state. Money, which lords over every brimming vessel. What will we do if our God was a boat? What water would be safe with us? 5. Revenge and community hold a knife to the same enemy's neck. Humility, you have turned a blind eye to so much. Don't look at us now. Go, look over there at the God of money, the savior of the self, cancering alleys, feeding poison to the shrinking bodies. He fattens wallets. He slicks his hair back into a pompous pompadour, oil staining the river. 6. When we are blessed with the richness of God's money, we show no mercy, disregard slaughter like a knife discards hunger, our humanity a pecan halved. 7. In Louisiana, pecans and pollen fall from the same tree, making coffins out of future makers. The males are easier to maintain. When abundant, the city cleans up the sickness. Keep the number of males superior to the female trees. No free fruit in a state that forces our labor. Even botany shows the mistreatment of our women. 8. State the name of your current state. Apathetic, injured, archaic, exhausted. I've held more than the world on my tongue. Death places us on his tongue like communion crackers. I ask, when was the last time you prayed for a prisoner? Like a prisoner, who knows the shadow of steel better than starlight. Thank you.
Thank you, Karisma. Tyler Robert Sheldon's latest poetry collection is Words for Coffee, came out in 2025. He's editor-in-chief of Mocking Heart Review and managing editor at Dialogue, the interdisciplinary journal of pop culture and pedagogy. And his work has appeared in the Los Angeles Review, Quiddity, Slant, Tinderbox, Poetry Journal, and other places. He earned his PhD at LSU and his MFA at McNeese State University. He lives here in Baton Rouge, where he writes, gardens, and teaches at LSU. Please welcome Tyler Robert Sheldon.
I'm always following the really good people. It's good to see you guys. Some of you I've met before. Some of you I'm seeing for the first time. You guys hear me all right? My grandmother was a psychologist and therapist in Kansas City for decades. She helped found part of Meningers of Topeka, the mental hospital, and she was the sort of hub around which the spokes of my entire family turned for years and years and years. So when she passed away from dementia, it was very surreal to see her self-diagnosing with her DSM-5 manual saying, when this happens, I'm going to do this. When I do this, you need to do that. Dog-earing the entire section on dementia, and it unfolded exactly as she said. And by the time it got there, she didn't remember the conversation anymore. So in 2023, I went back for a family/research trip to talk to her for a week, before I didn't have the opportunity. And this book came out of that trip. So this first poem comes from my childhood, a little bit of a reflection. It's called A Recipe for Pumpkin Bread. And it's in sections. 1. Kansas City, middle autumn, at the pumpkin patch and corn maze, I wear a brand new KC Chiefs puffer coat. I am maybe 6 years old, and the cold air needle points its way across my face, stitching in the morning. The grass is turning its way back into earth, and every single thing is gold. My cousins and I pick tiny oval pumpkins and wait for our turn at the giant wooden catapult, the sun already up and casting small shadows over the building with its restrooms and its gift shop, and my uncle helps Logan pull her pumpkin back in the big sling. They let it go, and the giant band shoots forward, and the little pumpkin flies, and somewhere a field over we think we hear it land. Dad and I load my pumpkin next, and everyone steps back. Grandma watches as it climbs into the new October air. She laughs, and I imagine it fading all the way from sight. 2. The dry ingredients come first. My folks and I are in Grandma's kitchen as she pulls the paper bag of flour from the cabinet overhead. This bread rises through my childhood, so when I think pumpkin, I think Kansas City, I think Grandma's house with its sunny yellow walls, and so some part of my deepest self is perpetually fall. Mom asks about the office, the clients who seek her out for therapy, as Grandma sifts the flour into a giant yellow bowl. But I am young, and Grandma knows, and says only so much. There are still more ingredients to go. Only later will I hear about the man who pulled the gun. 3. Sugar never touches my grandmother's coffee, and only at her house do I ever drink it black. My wife Alex and I are not yet married, still in college, up from campus for the weekend, and we sit on the orange floral couch while in the kitchen we hear the coffee maker percolate in its patient way. We talk about what we'll do once up and moving. Grandma wants to take us to the Nelson Art Museum with its giant shuttlecocks upon the vast green lawn. She gets up to pour the coffee. I follow her into the kitchen, measure out 2 spoons of sugar to bring balance to this drink, finally, that I've always imagined as strong enough to wake the dead. The museum is full of Rothkos, their giant fields of color designed to calm at the atomic level, and this is what I'm looking forward to the most. Alex likes Rothko too, but can't stand Benton, and so, of course, what greets us first is the man with a gun over his shoulder, and as long as time feels, on a sugar high. Beside him in this painting strides a beheaded boy, powder horn slung across his shoulders, his gaze forward toward a moment none of us can see. 4. Cloves are like little hands without a body. They fumble their way out onto your palm in 3rd grade as with your other hand you lift an orange in its textured skin. You dot these little hands all over, and suddenly the orange smells like fall, though outside in the cold the first flakes swirl down toward the classroom. To finish, you tie a piece of yarn to this new ornament's stem, prepare to make another, perfect gifts for family, and Grandma will hang hers on the tree in Kansas City, and this too will rise throughout your memories like bread baking in a kitchen. 5. Cinnamon tea waits in the kitchen cabinet as we all choose its neighbors first, then close the door and leave it in the dark. Grandma's teapot whistles, and still it waits like a memory fading over time. 6. Eggs crack, crack into the big bowl. Grandma stirs, pours in the milk, and we pull the loaf pan from the cabinet, the oven hot and waiting. Before long, we'll all sit down and slice this bread so aromatic you'd think a pumpkin patch was waiting right around the corner. 7. Butter in little glass dishes, perfect round pats to sit atop the bread. Butter yellow ceramic swans above the china cabinet. They look down and witness as we laugh and cut another slice. So, when I went back to Hutchinson, Kansas, my hometown, home of one of the nation's deepest salt mines, in which, among other things, are the costumes from Star Wars and Gone with the Wind, because salt keeps things from mildewing. It's not important to the poem. I just thought that's cool. I went home to see my grandma, and we went to this restaurant called the Anchor Inn, which is what else? A Mexican restaurant. And, well, this is called In the Buffet Line at Anchor Inn, autumn 2023. I stack the enchiladas on my orange plate carefully like I'm building a house, and the line moves a bit here at the Anchor Inn, the restaurant of my childhood in the town where I've returned, where I'm back to see my grandmother, who stands next to me, who is fading, so I've heard, so far north of Louisiana where I've made my new home. What kills me isn't how she doesn't remember, because she does. She recalls my childhood, every visit we've had together, the mornings with coffee in the living room, so strong because she, perhaps alone among all people, thought it proper to double the ratio of coffee grounds to water. Now when I want to wake up and really mean it, I make Grandma coffee just like that, and she knows still the cheesy tang of these enchiladas, the smoky fried potato tacos just a little further down this line. No, what makes me tear up, as if from too much of this restaurant's hot sauce, is how she spins it all. Former psychologist using synonyms for words she can't recall and almost sells it. My sister becomes your friend when we talk. And when I visit her assisted living apartment the next day, she will insist on making the coffee that she doesn't need to and will not stop. Her body, her mind, a house that will never ever be blown down. Ahead of me in line, she tongue lifts a small potato taco and holds it before her like a wonder of the world that she's never seen before. So it can't all be about family all the time, but it's usually narrative when I'm writing. And this is from the other day when I was giving a midterm. I wrote this poem, and it's called Midpoint, and it's also in sections. 1. My students are writing an essay. The screen at the front of the room entreats them to think of Cheever's Nettie Merrill, a swiller of tonic and gin who swims across a galaxy of neighbors' pools to find that everyone he thought loved him is as long dead as the galaxy's own stars, the house locked, the trees darkening their way into autumn. How, I've asked them, are we like this ourselves? Is it the pools or the gin, the neighbors, the crinkling laughter of the metamorphing trees, or something else that's out of place? 2. Nettie at the beginning of the story vaults his way down the banister to join everybody poolside. He's never felt better in his life. 8 pool miles later, so close to, yet so far from home, he clings to the rail and levers like an icy glass to the mouth of the pool, swallowed almost entirely by an age he thought he'd never have to face. 3. One of my students levers a hand up into the air, asking how many paragraphs this whole thing needs, and the only proper answer is, this is your paper, not mine, and I believe in you, no matter how far you have to go. I'll just read one more. My grandfather died about a month before my grandmother did, back in 24. And they were not married any longer, but the proximity of that was always striking. And so this is called Double Abecedarian from my grandfather. I talked to the poet Dorothy Chan about this, asking her if I could steal her poetry form. She said, as long as you always mention that you got it from me, it's fine. So there you go, Dorothy, if you're listening. This is called Double Abecedarian from my grandfather. If you guys don't know what an abecedarian is, you probably already do, but every line starts with the next letter of the alphabet, right? And so a double abecedarian is just twice that. After Dorothy Chan. After you were gone, I realized the hardship, but it's not time, not yet, to share it with everyone else. Cold in the moonscape of the nighttime mountains, where even darkness sounded in my decade-young head like the breathing of a bear entering your cabin while you were away, who would feast on seed, the lifeline of birds, for perhaps the first time I saw you as the man with the plan. Gunmaker, teacher, mountain man of the heart, you might as well have held a fishing rod against the thunderous ocean and wait for a single godlike fish. You were instinctually invested in the bear inside your Colorado Rocky Mountain home, and just what you had to do to stop it. Khakis were everything. That's how I remember it, as you ambled long-legged up the driveway when in from out of town, and also your matter-of-fact button-down shirts, the Harris tweed cap with the ear flaps that was more than anything you to me in microcosm.
Never prepared to spend the night, always open to a game of poker, how even Dad would lose, his grin just yours passed on, a habit I would also come to share. Patting us all on the back, hard, full with wheezing laughter and shaking shoulders at the hilarity of every little thing. Such humor quenched my need for family because, of course, there you were, with both my parents right where we needed you to be, but just for a moment. Such love, mercurially. I imagined you like Hemingway, same beard, wry grin, no longer thin, the hero of all our untold narratives, each a giant fish on whom a shark has pinned a dream, vying for a way to win it all, and yet we loved you more than you could know, Xeroxed copies of your hopes, to which we added our other parts of self. Younger than your age, you yearned for your own kind of immortality. Zion for you was no doubt an endless space of guns and books, the two ways all men seem to hold back their adversaries. But this is not the only story. Could I ask you to indulge one question now that you're whatever the other side was waiting for? Do you think you were trying every day for what your life became? For the other story to be told, the trying must be true. You got back what you gave, always, and we were happy to give it back to you. I think of you browsing through this shelf of books, full of just the best and nothing else, all penned by the man himself, and this is the other story. Killing time before the injury, Ernest Hemingway loops through Europe in an ambulance in the war. He tells everyone later that maybe they should see him as a hero because he fought in that war, and never mind if that's really true. Of course, you never fought a war, late to both the big ones, preferring anyway your battles on the page and with the self and before your students and the blackboard. Quieter still, the heartbeats of the books you wrestled over, the sudden way you both wrapped things up, trapped in time, and a time truer but quicker than you wanted. Unusual how you made your marks so differently, vehement in your view of a world that traded people for pages around you, so similar too how everyone worked to make sense of you after the fact, your loves, your words, your X, Y, Z, the way you worked to be the biggest you could, flashing us a grin full of your zeal. We wish you were here right now to help us heal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I wanted to read 2 poems. I left my book on the table, so I'm gonna get my stuff. So when I was a kid, my parents divorced when I was young. The one thing that they both loved Ray Charles, and they both loved Ella Fitzgerald. And so this is a poem that came out, and it was published in an anthology that celebrated what would have been Ella Fitzgerald's 100th birthday. It's called A Reliable Luminosity. I want to listen to Ella Fitzgerald today. New Year is near, and the world continues with its realities. The debates rage, a gun jams, too many go off, too many mood and actual triggers that put us in the wrong state, too many denials, too few conversations that lead to somewhere. I want to listen to Ella Fitzgerald today and imagine all the women in black dresses, the kind my mother wore, crepe or velveteen, lined in satin, a pot de soie with the singular strand of pearls that holds a reliable luminosity. The men know the meaning of special occasions. Along with keys and 4-cornered cufflinks, they have chrome and stainless steel lighters. They remembered to buy flints and fluid on the way home. The pressed table linens come to chevrons, strategic diagonal points that graze the knees or shins as a given, and only a given. Cocktail shakers make ice collide in hard consonants with bitters and bourbon almost in unison. Mostly, everyone is drinking scotch on the cusp of finishing the first round. The candles flicker, but not with the same brightness or virtuosity of Ella, whose notes and improvised syllables elicit applause during and after every song. I guess it was in 2025. I'm currently working on a manuscript, and all of the poems in the manuscript are based on paintings. They're ekphrastic poetry. And this is based on a Marc Chagall painting where a grandmother is making jam in 1914. Light pumpkins, unlike the deep orange ones, carved in jagged grins or isosceles eyes, the best for jam, made every November on the day designated for honoring the saints and the dead, after cranberry mums were placed graveside. Old news, evening and morning editions, printed safeguards, spread to cover the pedestal table. My Nana commenced, cleaved the top full circle to create a blunt lid, the blade moving as a slow anticipatory hour, allowing her to lift the top, scoop the innards and their complexity, stringy pulp embedded with seeds. Reaching for the knife again, she'd skin and quarter it, a globe, an orb, dismantling, deconstructed into bauble-sized chunks, the iron pot on the front burner, a great receptacle to simmer with butter, sugar, ground nutmeg, no different than the grandmother, in a museum, painted on a panel, wood stacked at her feet, spoon in motion to prevent sticking, awakening the air with aroma. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to the poets who read, for sharing their work. Thank you to the State Library. Thank you to you guys for being such a wonderful and really just, rapt audience. So we thank you. Robert, do we need to...